Yeah, alright, man. Alright, bye.
Anders wordt deze steep.
What the fuck is going on?
Go straight.
This here is a little section of what we call the vaults. The vaults being a general term, there were some weird patches of underground underneath certain bridges for the city. And again, just to repeat what I said in the graveyard, there's no actors in here, it's just us down here. Nobody's in a mask, nobody's in a way, please don't worry about that. Although these places are totally locked off. You need keys to get into here. Anyone jumping out at us, again, it's one of them, it's not one of us. I swear to God I'll be the first one out of those doors today, don't you worry. Before we head further in, I would like to explain what these vaults actually are. Just so you know why we're in these, well, this room that you very trustingly followed me into. I want to show us this map. This map is from Edinburgh about about 500 years ago. Very, very old. If you know the city at all, this is the castle up here.
Okay.
This is the Royal Mile. That's the palace down here, Holyrood Palace. So from there to there is roughly 1 mile. So it's a very, very tiny city. We started off the tour about here. We walked up in this direction. This is St Giles Cathedral, where we danced on that man's grave. Okay, you're right there. Right now we are somewhere here. The thing, of course, that this map doesn't show is that this street here is a lot higher up than this street here. So all these little closes and winds connecting the two streets have been very, very, very steep. And this is horrifically inconvenient because it created valleys. All these little sections where the sewage, this disgusting, disgusting liquid would seep down. And about 300 years ago, we tried to even this out by building bridges. There were 18 bridges in total, going off where this high street was. The issue was that some of these bridges went over old parts of the city that couldn't remain at the same time. Went over these little closes and winds. So instead of just demolishing these little places, what they did is they incorporated them into the foundations of the bridge. They built them up into the archways and into the foundations, and it created little tunnels and little sections, little rooms with vaulted, arched roofs. And nowadays we call them vaults. In fact, you can show us. So this is a bit of a rubbish picture here. I do apologise, but you can see this just gives you somewhat of an idea about what these vaults would actually look like. If you were to cut the bridge in half, you can hopefully see there's lots and lots of these little tiny sort of mounds underneath. These are all little tunnels. So where we're going to go into, it's just a fraction of what the vaults actually are. There's loads of these places. We're just going to go into one or two of these little things. So they weren't built for any particular reason. They just sort of came around as a bit of a space and a resource-saving manoeuvre. They're used originally as storage for the businesses up on the bridge, but it's very hot down here. It's very damp, so our goods would spoil. Now, after about 30 years from being built, these places were left completely abandoned. The cunning citizens of Edinburgh, they realised it's a nice, well-hidden area. They came down for a lot of criminal, illegal activity. And that's how they spent the majority of their lifespans. In these places there were dens for all kinds of illegal gambling, or there were brothels, or there were smugglers' havens. Very commonly in the 19th century there were these illegal whiskey stills. If any of you like whiskey?
Yeah.
Whiskey, yeah.
Yes.
I'm a big whiskey drinker. You love the whiskey made down here. My personal favourite is the type of what we call white whiskey. I like it looked clear, it looked like water because it hadn't been aged at all. And it's good fun. This particular stuff they make down here is you drink this whiskey, you get very, very drunk, you have some hallucinations, and you go blind and you die. Fantastic, it's really nice. The people making this whiskey, they kept down here against their will, and they're trapped down here. Slowly dying of diseases for the cramped conditions, they're being poisoned by whatever it is they're making. A lot of people died down here in a lot of really awful ways. There's quite a few reasons why people think this place is haunted. If you want to follow me, I'm going to dig up in this direction if you want to come along. We'll walk through this way. Just come, sorry. Mind your step, it's uneven before here. It's the reason why we take the tours down here. It's partly because of the historic interest. I think it's mostly because I think these places are thought to be kind of a paranormal hotspot. The people down here report a lot of very, very strange things. People report seeing faces, figures, flashes, and orbs, similar to the graveyard. Or people commonly when they're down here, people tell us they feel a bit like they're being watched. People tell us they feel like there's a presence or an energy in the room with them. That's not very common. And most of the time, what people describe to us, it is quite vague. There's just slight movements and slight outlines, but we get a few occasions where people give us more detail in their descriptions of their experiences, you know. Every now and then, people tell us that they've not only seen, but they've interacted, or they've had conversations with very vivid figures that they come across down here. And of course, they never really know who to believe when they say this sort of thing. I'm sure people do make stories up. It interests me because the sorts of things that people report, they'll link up from person to person. So what somebody says to us might be the same experiences as somebody had months before that, or at least a similar one, but with no obvious connection between the people. And I personally find this really interesting. And the most common thing that we have reported with more substance to it, is more of a fleshed out story. It's up in this back left corner. People report sightings of a figure. It's most commonly the figure of a woman. But the story will change from time to time depending on who's telling us this. I've had people in my tours report a man up there. Most of the women, she'll be up in that corner. Sometimes she'll be sitting still. Sometimes she'll be rubbing her hands over her arms, through her hair, kind of fidgeting. The uniting factor, though, what makes her particularly interesting is that when people see her, they'll tend to say that she's accompanied with a smell. A very, very powerful smell. Which does also change. Sometimes they're smelling smoke, damp, burning, or alcohol. Cooking smells, meat, vegetables, or some people say tobacco. Isabel, she was nicknamed, it's just the blood, don't worry about it. She was nicknamed Annie. My boss, he called her Old Mingin Annie. We don't know where Annie came from. It's just one of these things. I think there was one particular person who said it to one of the tour guides that she said the name was Annie and just stuck around. But I had somebody on my tour about a year ago who she got really angry at me for calling her Annie because this woman said that the name of the person up here was Mary Ann. And she got really annoyed at me for calling her Annie. But I don't know. We don't know who she is. I'll say we don't even know if she does actually exist. I want to say right now, I have never seen Annie. I've never seen this figure up in the corner. But I do have people on my tours reporting to me that they have seen her. And I'll point out, in case you're curious, I discredit any reports that come after I've told this story, because it seems like they're making it up. But There's one particular story that always gets me. From about a year and a half ago, I want to say. There's a tour group in a room right at the very bottom here. While they're in there, a woman comes into this corridor for some space and takes a photo. While she's out here, she spots Annie. She spots this beautiful Annie up in this back left corner. So the two of them share a very, very brief moment of eye contact. This woman, she calls out to Annie. And so she asks her, "What's the matter? What are you doing up the corner?" Something like this. The woman told Annie she didn't say anything in response, but she stood up, or she crouched up, I guess, and she started walking forwards. So she comes in this path. The woman claims that Annie, she's got her hand against the side of the wall, like she's trying to keep herself stable. She comes down these stairs, but what makes this story kind of interesting for me is that the way Annie described, the way that this woman described that Annie didn't make any sound. Like the way she said it, not just she was quiet, but she had no footsteps, or she had no sort of scraping against the wall or any sound of her clothes brushing against itself. It was the woman described it as like when you're watching the telly, but you got the sound turned down, and you can just see the picture moving. And she does that, Annie. She comes in these stairs. She approaches this woman until they're right face to face. And the woman told Annie, still not saying anything, took a step forward, but she moved through this woman's body. So she passed through where this woman was standing and then just disappeared completely. And when she did this, the woman told that she felt kind of a shiver, a cold chill. Are you okay? It was a very, very common thing actually. Not just a chill, but a drastic change in temperature. So sometimes people describe feeling a hot flush or a sudden chill, sudden icy chill. It's often seen as an indicator for paranormal movements and activity. Something to think about, because I think it's normally very hot down here, I found. Yeah. It's because the brickwork is very, very thick. It's also we have a lot of tourists coming into here and there's a lot of body heat because it's, again, for all we know, this woman is just making this up for a story. Well, we have. So it's slightly darkened at the end. Yes, it's because so that there used to be you can see where the blackened bit is. Used to be a passageway that you could go through, but apparently it was locked off ages and ages ago, back in the 80s when this was sort of discovered. So it was quite unsafe to go into. Apparently it was quite dangerous from the top. Yeah, it's just the mouldy asbestos. It's just rainwater that seeps down. You're all right. You want to follow me? I want to take you further down if you come along. So mount your head on this beam here. Watch your feet come around these stairs.
Easy.
Watch your step, watch your head. Be very careful. Make sure there's enough room in your thing, yeah. As you notice this skylight up here, looks out onto South Bridge. So you'll see people walking over that, but it just gives you somewhat of an idea about where we actually are. We're just underneath the pavement here. So we all walked over that as we're coming down towards the entrance, just for a little bit of perspective. Or if you get bored, you can try and zip somebody's kilt. Fingers crossed for true Scotland. So I think the main reason why these vaults get the reputation that they do, is the main reason why people think these places are haunted, or why they're so famous for at least. It's because during the early 1700s, these places they were known to be still used as part of the remnant witch hunting. It's part of the witchcraft trials of some of the time. I've never heard much about the witch hunting in the south of Scotland, but it was brutal and it was horrific. It started around the 1500s, went on for a good 200 years, and thousands of people died. it was awful. I'm not going to get into that much detail because we don't have enough time. We'll just keep you up on it. A couple of stories about after it was technically made legal. Because in the early 1700s, the law was changed. It was restricted. And they made it so you could only trial one woman at a time for being a witch. Just to avoid all these mass frenzy trials. And it couldn't be in public anymore. It had to be in private. Which meant in Edinburgh, it was driven into places kind of like this. They say the men finding these witches, they're still employed by the throne, by the crown. And they're being paid for this. They're getting more money for finding more people. These are the worst sort of men you can imagine. Absolutely awful. They say if you thought somebody was a witch, there was nothing for you. You'd approach them, you'd point, yes!
Oh my God.
And that's it for them. That's them dead. They'd be put to what they call the witchcraft trials. Now, I think the worst case of these trials, specifically, that I've ever heard about, was one particular family. It's quite well known in Scotland just for being such a tragic event. A family from Orkney, the Balfour family, if you know them. And Orkney, excuse me if you don't know, it's a group of islands just off the north coast of Scotland. And in the day, the dialect of an Orkney was quite distinct. And the way people spoke up there was very different to the way people spoke certainly down in Edinburgh. And so there's a woman called Alison Balfour. She had a husband, Peter Balfour. They had a 10-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. The mother was accused of witchcraft. And they were, as I say, from Orkney, but down in Edinburgh. And the men accusing this woman of witchcraft needed a confession from the family that she was a witch, but due to this difference in dialect, this difference in the way that they spoke, they couldn't understand what was going on. You know, they couldn't confess even if they wanted to, because they didn't know what was being asked of them. You know, they didn't know what, they didn't even understand the question. In fact, I'm going to tell you about them in this room here if you can follow me, but just watch your step because it's pretty uneven on the floor. Do mind your head if you're a bit taller because it's frightening wind here. You're right. I'm trying to make sure there's enough room for everybody to get down here. You don't have to stand close to them. I know they're bloody awful, but. Alright! This is Balfour family. Because they started with the mother. They chained her up to the ceiling. They strapped her up in such a way that her arms and her legs, they bent backwards and they dislocated. And they lit a fire beneath her and they left her there. It's left this woman, she's hanging over this fire as they turned their attention to the rest of her family. Now, her husband, he was laid flat with a wooden board over his chest. They added weights to this board, increase the pressure on his ribs. And this is in the hope that he'll realise that he is going to be hurt or killed. So he's forced to blurt out a confession. But due to this difference in dialect, he doesn't understand what the men are saying. So even if he wanted to, he couldn't confess. So the men, they just keep going. They add more and more weights, more and more pressure, till his ribcage, it gives up and it cracks. Oh my God! And this man is crushed and killed, leaving behind just the kids. And this is certainly among the most common things that we have reported on these tours. We get it a lot in this room, and also we get it reported a lot in the room with the map, you know, where we started off. But people describe feeling things like a knocking around their feet and around their legs, or a tugging on their trousers or coats, or a brushing against their hands, or sometimes it's a grabbing at their hands, when their hands are at their sides. And they describe it as being like the presence of children, like kids, looking for attention or somebody to play with, I guess. This 10-year-old boy was given a device called the boot. And the boot, it's essentially, it's a heavy iron shoe. It'll go from the base of the foot right up to the top of the thigh, and it's very sore. And it's very uncomfortable to wear. But they left gaps in the metal so they could hammer in these blocks of wood. And when they do, there's not really enough room. They'll break the boy's skin, digs into his muscles, and he's scraping up against these bones. By the end of this, the boy he's screaming in agony. He's got blood and flesh, eventually bone marrow. It's all seeping down from his leg and onto the ground, and the boy's left to bleed out and die with his parents. So now it's just this wee girl, and she's 6 years old. Of course, all she needs to do is confess that her mother was a witch. Of course, if she did confess, her mother would be killed, but the girl should be set free. The whole ordeal at least would be over. But again, she doesn't understand, so again she can't confess. And when they know this, they don't care. You've heard a device called the periwinks, thumb screws. They're metal clamps, which go to the base of the thumb, right at the most sensitive point to be tightened. And as they're tightened, the screw should be underneath the thumbnail. So when they ask for confession and they tighten it, the girl, she can't give them one. But she's alone now. I mean, she's lost her family. She's in a foreign land. She's confused. She's terrified. She's in so much pain. And then they tighten, and they tighten, and they tighten. Her fingers break, and she's left for the rest of her family. I mentioned before all the stories we get about the knocking and the tugging, and the things it's described as being like the presence of children. So because of this, one of the guides that I work with, one of my colleagues, thought it'd be an interesting idea to start leaving toys down here for the children to play with, which is what all this is about. If you haven't noticed them already. The idea is these are meant to act as what's called a trigger device. Like, I mean, if there is a presence or if there is a spirit of kids down here, then they might see this as something a little bit more recognisable, a bit more relatable. And it could perhaps act as kind of a point of contact and make communication slightly easier. So they had the sort of toys that children from the 18th and 19th centuries would recognise, which is why they're, you know, Annabelle Chucky dolls, not an Xbox or something. Now, these things scare me more than anything else on these tours. Sorry? Sorry? Head moving?
Now I need to go. This is actually
No, I did not see that.
Oh, no.
What? Which one? The bond one?
How long are we down here for?
Not much longer. You're alright.
I feel like
This is my favourite here. I like the. I like this one. Also the. Okay, this is a bit of a weird story. Maybe it's just, but you notice there's some weird chalk drawings like the pentagram. So last night was obviously Halloween, right? And we had two people who are kind of Wiccans, if you know of this. It's that sort of New Age, dark magic practices. And there was two people who came down here. They got in contact with my boss, and I had to come down just so I could like open up the vaults, let them in, and then leave at the end. Let them leave. So I wasn't really part of it. I was just letting them. But I went in and I sort of listened to what they're up to, and I heard these people. They were talking about like, they were talking to the mother of Lucifer and trying to summon dark spirits to enhance their lustful energy. Is what they were saying, and they had this place. It was all like surrounding these candles and stuff like that. It was really, really strange. And I was in the other room there. I was drinking a cup of tea and reading my book, you know. It was really bizarre. But they told me for the next couple of days there might be some strange energy inside of here. But I don't think it's all quite strange for me. But
Have the toys been moved, or has there been
well,
indication that?
they move all the time, but
Are you joking?
all the other tour guides are bastards. I mean, I've done it. I'll admit, I move them sometimes and don't own up to it.
Yeah.
So you never really know if it's.
Yeah.
I mean, you were saying that one moved their head up there. I've never seen any of them move. But again, if I saw one of them move, they would be trampled into broken china bits. I'm not having any of that. When you're ready though, you're gonna follow me. We're gonna take us out of this room. Just watch your step coming back out of here. Watch your step. I might just sit on the right there.
Have you seen it before? What's that? Black and white camera. picks up lights.
So they told me that they got
Oh, so it picks up lights.
so they had to I guess they just moved my boss or they didn't come down here. I'm not sure. Basically, I just got a text from my boss on Halloween during the morning. It says I'm going to pay you for an extra 2 hours if you let these people in the box. So I'm like, okay, whatever. They came out. They were one of them was going to go to the pub for a pint because they said they had a lot of energy with them. Like they were feeling buzzing because of this thing they just done. But I mean, they were down there. They left us almond biscuits. And they had like this like tiny thing of wine and stuff. It was really, really strangely casual about the sort of, but what I was hearing they were saying, it was like they were acting like, I went to a Catholic school, Catholic, but the sort of prayers that you have to say, like Hail Mary and Our Father and stuff like that. It was very, very similar to that sort of prayer, like it was that sort of ritual to it, but just quite dark, I guess. And it was all about the mother of Lucifer, the mother of Satan, or I can't remember what we said. Dark energies, something like that. I can't remember. It was really, really bizarre, but I just let them do the thing. Again, I wasn't part of it. I was out here and there was passing tea. Sorry. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything, or if anyone's more than welcome to be left alone for a little while in that room down there. If you would like to spend the time and see the dolls, do any rituals, or whap at your Ouija boards. When you're ready, just come to this way. There's no hurry though.
Vamos.
That must be it. That must be it.